love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me.
I wanted you to know what kind of service you kind of walked into. This weekend has been kind of special. We got a lot that's kind of been going on, and we're going to talk to you about some things this evening that I think you'll find very interesting, hopefully, and exciting as we kind of plunge forward into the year 21. This morning, however, we did something a little different in the service that we're not going to be able to do this evening, and that is every year about this time, we talk about our leadership, and we talk about our eldership, the biblical concept of elders. And here at Leesburg, we've had a group of elders that meet and have met once a month for a number of years. The idea is that these elders are shepherds over the flock. They meet to pray and to meditate, to study Scripture, and then also to make decisions for the ministry here at Leesburg. Elders, when they come aboard the eldership, they make a 3-year commitment, and then they take a mandatory year off in a rotation, and they can in the future come back if they so choose, and some of them do and some of them don't, and for various reasons, personal and otherwise. But this year we had one vacancy in our eldership, and we actually nominated and we have selected and have ordained as of this morning one of these men, and his name is Tommy Whitaker. You probably fully recognize Amy, his wife. She helps lead worship here quite regularly and has for a few years. And she and Tommy have been very actively involved in our ministry here. They're on all kinds of levels. They are part of our missions team. They've gone on missions trips, both local and abroad. Tommy also works with some of our other intricacies of administration here on a volunteer basis of the church, and Amy does as well. And Tommy accepted the challenge when he was approached and nominated for elder, and we ordained him as our new elder to serve a 3-year term beginning this year. Now, that's important to understand because I want you to know how the nominating process kind of works. The elders themselves work as a nominating group by recommendations that are given to them or to me from you, the congregation, and then once those names are discussed, and then there is an interview process where sometimes people are nominated and they don't want to be an elder, and so we have to have those conversations and talk about that, and then we proceed from there. So I wanted you to know that, because if you've ever nominated someone for the eldership position, and then you didn't see them become an elder, 99.9% of the time it's because they didn't want to, really, when it came down to it. So there's reasons behind that. But eldership is taken right out of the Scripture, of course. That's how we do everything around here. It's taken from 1 Timothy chapter 3 and Titus chapter 1, if you want to read the qualifications for an elder in the church, as was set up to govern the local congregations, the autonomous congregations that were started in the New Testament. And in this group of men, we're accountable to God and to each other for what the task that was before them, to oversee and protect and shepherd the flock. And so we have these group of men, and again, we meet on a monthly basis, and we have a great camaraderie, a great team of people that are together in doing this. One of the unique characteristics about Leesburg that I was told about another church this morning down south that somebody knew of, but I have never known one personally, ever in my life. It's only been unique to this ministry, is that we don't vote on anything here at Leesburg. And if you want to know why, it's real simple. Voting's not in Scripture. There's no such thing as voting in Scripture. And if you paid attention at all in 2020, you probably understand why voting's not in Scripture, because it can become very divisive. It can become very polarizing, and God does not want his body of believers to be either one of those things for certain. So we work by consensus. That doesn't mean we always agree with one another. We work through those, we talk about those issues, and then we walk out as one unified group of people once we get through that. And so we not only do that in leadership, we do that throughout the congregation as well. So you will never be asked to vote on anything as far as that goes, even though we love to have your feedback on everything. So that's kind of how we operate, and it has served us well. This year, if you notice over here on this screen, we have our present elders that are now serving. Jim Borders is our secretary of our eldership, and he's serving out his last year. Rick Corbin, Joe Graves, Larry Heiler is our chairman, Henry Norfleet. I'm on the eldership this year, Terry Power and Eric Schmidt, who is serving as our present treasurer. And so we have, besides myself, we have no less than 5 elders and no more than 8. I'm kind of a liaison with the eldership and the staff, and so I kind of stay perpetually with that group. So that's kind of how that works. So if you see Tommy, congratulate him, but more than anything, pray for him and our leadership as we continue to move forward with the challenges that we have before us. So that was exciting this morning to have that take place. And then also we had someone else who's very dear to us that came on the platform, who I'm going to invite up right now, and that's Mr. David Sneller. David Sneller has been our family life minister now for the past 14 months or so, and done an excellent job, has elevated our ministry with his lovely bride beside him, Stacy, who's here tonight. During that tenure, we were thrilled to have him, have been thrilled to serve alongside of him. And a little over a month ago, David came to me personally, and he shared with me that he was making a decision, he and Stacy together, that he was going to leave the vocation of ministry for an extended period of time, and has other things on his heart and mind that God is going to do with him. So today is his last day. This is his last service with us, and I talked to him about it, and he wanted to come and address the congregation just for a couple of minutes before we proceed with our other items of business. And so, David, give you the mic, buddy.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to be able to take this chance to kind of talk and share one last time. I thought about what to say on a day and an occasion like this, and just a few things came to mind. So the first thing I just want to say seriously is thank you for being a part of our lives, for being a part of our story. I've said all morning, all day today, that I really think that God led us here to this place for a very specific reason in a very specific time because of very specific experiences. I feel like I'm Liam Neeson here, a very particular set of skills. But the truth is that you all were brought into our lives at a very particular time and place in our story. And this place has taught us about grace. It's something that you grow up hearing and learning about and trying to figure out. But grace is one of those things you can't just mentally assent to. Grace can't be understood until it is received, and until, even more importantly, it's able to be given. And so this place has been that. We've seen time and time again people who come in to this place brand new with hurts and habits and hang-ups and hardships that they're accepted just like they are, and with the belief and understanding that when they encounter Jesus, He never leaves us that way, and so that's been really cool to see. I'll tell you that in every church that I've ever been a part of in my entire life, there's a line in a bulletin or a little tab on the website or a slogan, on a banner somewhere that says that we prioritize the people that need Jesus most. And but the truth is that when the rubber meets the road and tough decisions need to get made, it's so much easier to just pick comfort over comfort and convenience over compassion, and reaching out and stretching ourselves, making ourselves uncomfortable so that others can come and Jesus can do what he said he came to do, which was to seek and save those who are lost, just for us to be able to get out of his way in doing that. I've seen that so many times here. I think that's the thing that makes this place more different than anywhere else that I've been. And I think that that's the biggest reason why God has blessed this place and will continue to bless it. Because when we're doing the things, when we're putting the things that are most important, first things first, then he blesses that. And so keep being that. Keep doing that. Thank you for that, because that has been awesome for us to be able to see and experience and team up with. So. Just a couple of things, kind of moving forward with this being Vision Sunday. I thought it would be kind of a waste of an opportunity to not offer some kind of a challenge. So I have just kind of two really short thoughts to share. And the first one is a reminder for all of us to not forget where your strength comes from. Paul, when he was writing to the church in Corinth, in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, apparently they had kind of lost track of that among their many flaws and faults and hardships that they were going through. But some people were believing that the success and the growth or lack thereof of that congregation was due to the leadership, the people who they didn't have a stage, but if there was, the people that were on stage in the spotlights up front on the website, that kind of thing. Some people were saying, I follow Paul and I follow Apollos, or I follow Cephas or Peter. It's about those guys and we need to do what they say. And there was argument, and Paul said, hey, don't, it's not about that. Ultimately, he makes a couple of comparisons that growing a church is like working in a large field, a large like commercial farm operation. One person comes and plants the seeds, another person waters it, but it's God that makes it grow. He makes another comparison, and you're going to talk about, we have kind of a visual interaction here coming up with this building on top of the hill. Just like that, he makes another comparison where there was somebody that came in and made the blueprints for that building. There's another person that comes in next and digs the foundation. Another one comes and pours the concrete. He says, but if we didn't have, putting it into my words, if we didn't have God, he gives us the ground that we dig into. He is our ultimate foundation. So it's not about leaders or leadership. That's not where a church's strength comes from, although we have that here, a strong leadership top to bottom. It's about God, and he's the one that gives us our strength. So kind of piggybacking off of that is the idea that in the kingdom of God, there is no cheering section. It's not like a game where you go and there's a bleachers and there's the field. Every single person is a participant, an active participant in some way or another in the kingdom of God. And so just, I said it earlier today, but I'll leave with kind of a shameless plug and push and a challenge. And the worst thing you could do is fire me, because I'm already gone anyways. But the challenge is this: if you are not currently serving here in some tangible, regular way, I want to challenge you to do that. Without service, there is always going to be, and I've experienced this, there's always going to be something missing from what it is that we're looking for spiritually, because we were created, just like a fish was created to swim, we as Christians are created to serve as part of the kingdom through the local church. And so one area that's really easy to get plugged in, that's a huge part of what we've done these last 14 months, is make it as easy for you to serve successfully as possible in the kids ministry. It takes a lot of people to do that. Even right now on a Sunday night, there aren't really any kids classes, but I know that the plans are in the future as this church grows and as we kind of get into a post-ish COVID world, to do that, and that can't happen unless everybody's kind of doing their part. So we've got three options up here, and this isn't a hypothetical, so I really want you, if you don't have a place that you're serving, But seriously, pick one of these three things, and I mean seriously, look at it, think about it. The options are pray for the family ministry, say yes to serving, or recruit someone to serve with you. I want you to pick, as you're deciding that, which one is the easiest to do, the most convenient, the thing you have to change your schedule for the least, the thing that doesn't stretch you at all whatsoever. So pick that one. Do you see it? All right, now go to the one to the right of that and do that and whatever comes before it too. Because God's not about keeping us in our comfort zones. He's about stretching us. And so I really believe, like I said, this place is special because it reaches to people where they're at, and there are no big barriers to entry when it comes into the kingdom of God. And if that's going to continue to be the case with the young families we have building these houses within 10 minutes of this place and moving in droves, we have to have an atmosphere here that is conducive to reaching out and loving their kids. So say yes, be part of that. More than anything, like I said, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me be able to be a part of this place and this special team of people that we have working together. So.
Well, David, we want to thank you, and I want to tell you it's been a real honor to serve alongside of you this past year, particularly in a tough year, hard year. I know without a doubt, and I said this at the other two services, and he doesn't like me to say things like this. David is one of the most gifted, talented individuals I've ever met, and I sincerely mean that. And I know that God is just opening up a new door, a new chapter in he and Stacy's life to continue to serve him in some special way that he has before him. And I know he's open to that leading. And while he's going to take some time off to reflect on that and do some other things for a while that I think will be very therapeutic, and you're gifted as well in, I think that we need to continue to pray for David and for Stacy, and hopefully tonight before you leave you'll get to express their appreciation, your appreciation to them for helping Leesburg Ministry go to the next level, because they really have, and it has been a phenomenal thing to experience. And David, I just want to say on behalf of all of us, we love you. We wish you well, you and Stacy. I know that as you know, one chapter closes, another one opens, and excitement is on the horizon. And so thank you again. We love you, buddy. All right, thanks. I didn't give or tell David anything to say this weekend. He asked me about that, and I said, hey, you say what's on your heart. And so he did. And he made him walking off this platform means there is a hole to fill. There's a space to fill. I want to introduce to you on the screen the other staff members that we have that work with us. Some of you may recognize some of them. Some of us have gotten older and changed. But anyway, Maddie Simpson over here, who leads our worship, of course, been with us about 6 years. Me, Knucklehead. And then Courtney is over there, and Courtney has been working with our communications aspect of our ministry, and she has her hand in a lot of things. Everything that you ever see up here on the stage and platform and whatever decor we have, she's always in charge of that, and with communications and working with kids ministry too as well. And glad to have her. Next to her right here is Paula Davis. She is our office coordinator. She works from Monday to Thursday from 9 to 4, and she takes care of everything that comes through the church office. And then you have Jack of all trades, John, right there. And beside him you have Miss Sandy Freilich, and Sandy works for us 2 days a week. She is our financial administrator here at the church and has done wonders for us in being able to keep all that straight and just be the best stewards that we can possibly be. And then over here on the screen to the side is Emily McCauley. Many of you recognize her face. Emily's been around here for quite some time now and serving, and she also works with our children's ministry, the grade school and below, and she recruits and helps just on a part-time basis for that ministry. And then over on the far right there is Matthew Adamson. It's important for you to take a good look at him and pray for him, because he's been our intern over the last many months here at Leesburg, and he has agreed to be our interim family life ministry, take over that for the next 6 months as we reevaluate that and see where God's leading him and us and so forth. And so we're very thankful. David was the one who brought Matthew to us, recommended him, and he has been a great asset, and we're looking forward to working with him moving forward. And he's going to need your help, and he's going to need your prayers. So keep that in mind as we continue to move forward. Now, with all that being said, we have some other business that we want to talk to you about, which is actually pretty cool stuff. I think that you're going to enjoy it. This past year, we were very concerned, even as a staff, what is going to happen with our ministry due to COVID-19. I mean, you've thought about that personally, maybe at work or whatever, and it has had a major impact, obviously. However, I want to talk to you a little bit about financially where the church is and the state of that, because I think that's important for you to understand. One of the complaints I always heard in churches all my life was, they never tell us anything. Well, here we tell everything. So if it's boring to you, I'm sorry, but it's really information that you need to be aware of as you support this ministry. I think you should know where your dollars are going and what they're going for and why. And so we try to give that information as much as we possibly can. So let me just throw out some numbers to you for a moment. In 2020, when COVID hit back last March, we really met as a staff and as leadership, and we said, we're going to slash the budget, kind of freeze all spending. We're not going to do a whole lot. We're going to see where this thing lands. We had a lot of serious conversations about what that meant for us as a staff and extra work that we might have to pick up elsewhere to be able to support our own families and whatnot, and we were prepared to do that. However, God kind of had something else in mind. Believe it or not, 2020 was the best giving year in the history of Leesburg Christian Church. Isn't that amazing? We collected $829,000 in 2020, which enabled us to have money set aside to complete the next phase, which we're going to talk about in a moment, of our Family Life Center, which was fantastic. We then began to work hard on developing a budget for 21. Our budget for 21 is actually an even $800,000 below what we actually took in last year. That's $15,385 per week. That is our target number to be able to reach and meet all aspects of our budget. Now, for the building of the Family Life Center, last year we kind of put it on hold because everything that we had done up to this point, which is really cool, we had paid for in cash. Everything that you see up on the hill, the steel frame, all being built, foundational work, the excavating, that's over $420,000 that we paid for in cash. So we had no debt on that building whatsoever, and it was our intent to continue to pay as cash flowed. Well, since COVID hit last year, we decided to kind of put that on hold. Let's see where it goes, and we'll proceed with it whenever we can in the future. Having said that, something really good happened for us in 2020 with regard to our finances. Like many of you, we redid our present loan with the bank. You may have refinanced your house this year because the interest rates in commercial buildings were doing and loans were doing the same thing, and we were very fortunate to be able to knock a point off of our interest rate, which actually right now our indebtedness on this building stands at $954,000. We borrowed almost $1.4 million to build this building because we had collected, like we did for the Family Life Center, few hundred thousand up front to be able to start this project, but our initial debt was almost 1.4. We've got that down to $954,000, which is exciting, and by renegotiating our loan with the bank, we were able to save over $240,000 in interest, which is amazing, and if you redid your own personal mortgage, you know what it did for you as well with the interest rates. And having said that, one of the cool things that we were able to do with that negotiation was to have a line of credit so that we can complete our Family Life Center this year. Our goal is to have that completed by early fall. We've already begun redoing and recontracting and doing some of the work up there. John's going to talk about that in just a few moments, give you some details on that. But we were approved for up to $627,000 on a line of credit that would be renegotiated into our loan. And by the way, when we redid our loan, not only did we get it at a lower interest rate and save all that money, we also cut 5 years off the loan, so we only have 15 years left versus 20. That monthly payment comes out to $11,758 on our mortgage. Now that's more than what we were paying beforehand. However, that is considering, that payment is based on the fact if we borrow the complete line of credit and add it to our existing loan. So if we spend the $620 whatever thousand dollars that we have a line of credit, that's what the payment would be fixed at that $11,000 number. We do not anticipate at all borrowing that kind of money. The reason we did this was simply because when you get to a certain point in a building project, there is an overlap of contractors that have to depend on other contractors to complete their job. And so in some areas there's a big hit at once, and we did not have the cash flow to be able to take that big hit without wiping out our funds here that are on hand at Leesburg. So we didn't want to do that. We wanted to be good stewards. And so we have approached it this way, and we really feel like it's a good thing to do. Now that loan amount, even though it sounds high, based on what it could be if we borrowed all that money, right now is being paid. But the good news is all that extra money that's not included in the $620,000 is going to all of our principal right now. So we're knocking off big chunks of our principal of our existing loan right now as we speak, as we make this payment. So that's really good news. And so we're really making a lot of progress. Our goal is to have the whole thing paid off within 10 years. And I think on the track that we're on, we're going to be able to do that and then have a full functionality of our Family Life Center, which we're really, really excited about that. So maybe, John, I'm going to turn over you. I've talked enough. Won't you give some of the progress update and maybe estimated time, talk about that a little bit more with regard to our Family Life Center?
Well, you know, when you look at these pictures, you think, well, that looks like it's back in summer, and that's kind of the way it looks now. And you're right. We can't really see a lot of stuff that's been done recently. Of course, here you can. If you look inside here, kind of in the background stuff, the not so glamorous things have been happening. Our septic system is in. Our rough plumbing's in. We've now got the concrete slab, which was a huge undertaking. That's now poured and settled. And now we've got doors. For the first time since we've started, this building is now enclosed. No more chasing birds out or animals. It's closed in, and so that's exciting. What we're looking at now is now things are going to start kind of rolling downhill. I really think as we start rolling now that the building's enclosed. Right now we're kind of waiting to hear back about a few different things. We've got a lot of contractors here in the church that are going to be helping. We've got a lot of contractors, subcontractors that are going to be coming out from outside to get this building accomplished as quickly as possible. And what we're really looking for is we're expecting to be able to, each year around September we relaunch kind of things here at Leesburg. And it looks like we will be starting the fall in this new building. And so come September, we hope to be inside with occupancy.
And just real quickly,
rocking.
John, won't you give them a rundown of what all is included in the building, what actually the building is?
Yeah, so when you look at this picture, for example, to your left, the far side is going to be a kitchen. It's going to have 2 restrooms, men's and a women's room with a shower in each one, and a utility closet. And then about half of this building is going to be used for our students. That's middle school and high school primarily, but also used by other groups throughout the week as well. And then the right-hand side of the building, when you're looking at it, is going to be a gymnasium for all kinds of activities like dodgeball and basketball and
if you've been around here very long, you know that even though we have worship space in a few gathering areas, we really don't have a lot of space. A lot of big space. And so we needed that to be able to do a number of things, which all people of all ages could enjoy and appreciate, from all kinds of meetings and gatherings and receptions and banquets and dinners and fellowship opportunities, instruction time. It'll have a stage included in this as well, kind of a coffee shop feel to it area for a lot of different meetings, and it'll really be needed and used. What?
It'll be a neat thing.
Really
neat.
Cool thing. Now, we've been talking about money, so I want to kind of take a break in this, and we really don't talk a lot about money here. We don't talk a whole lot about giving here. As a matter of fact, if you're fairly new here, one of the things that you notice right off the bat is that we do not pass an offering plate. We don't do that. John, tell them why we don't pass an offering plate.
Well, it's kind of funny. This morning, even we've been having a ton of new families showing up on Sunday mornings. And this morning, there was a new family that came in, and they sat down next to some of our regulars, and they said, "How do you give here?" And it was kind of funny because we're illustrating that now. That's one of the most frequently asked questions. Well, how do I support and give to the ministry here? We don't pass plates because we don't want to be known as the church. It's always, the church is always looking for your money. Oh, it's all he wants, your money. We've heard that. We don't want to be that church. So often what happens is people kind of forget that they can give. So when you leave this room, for example, you'll see 2 black containers kind of on the outside of these doors. They've got yellow tape around them. That's where you can put your giving in physically. Don't put them on the other side. All right, that's a trash can. All right, little different. Yeah. Not very useful there. So put it on the tall containers. Also in the foyer,
they've got signs on them.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah.
a box.
Well, we fished a couple checks out of the trash, and then in the foyer we've got those boxes as well. You can also give a couple different other ways. You can go to the App Store and search for the Tithely Church app, and you can set up an account there. That's a Leesburg type account. Just follow those simple instructions, and you can have that. Or you can go to our website, leesburg.cc, and give online. You can even set it up as a reoccurring, so you don't. It's like an ACH payment. You don't even have to think about it month to month.
Yeah, that's really cool. About 4 months ago, I got an interesting phone call. It really caught me off guard. It was a production manager for Christian Broadcast Network. I don't know if you're familiar with CBN. If you have Direct or Dish TV, you probably have flipped through the channels. It's religious broadcasting. They couple with the 700 Club and some of the other ministries that are on TV. And this I thought it was a joke when she first talked to me. And she said, I know through our research that your ministry has helped people with Financial Peace University, in helping people become debt-free. You all have taken your congregation through the ABCs of Financial Freedom, which was written by our good friend Barry Cameron, who's been here to speak a time or two. And she said, I was just wondering if you have anyone in your congregation that would be willing to do a video production, giving their testimony about how this giving has changed their life. And immediately there was a family that came to my mind. You've already seen a picture of half of them, Emily and Willie McCauley. And so I gave their information, and sure enough, they brought their production team down here and made a video that aired on Dish and DirecTV through CBN this past week, and we brought it for you so you could see it in case you missed it.
When Emily and William McCauley first married, they didn't see eye to eye on finances.
I didn't want him to keep buying stuff until he was out of debt with other things. We would argue a lot about all different kinds of finance problems. He knew that that's what I did with my money was, give 10% to the church. I was a waitress, so I took if I made $80, I took $8 and would set it in my drawer until Sunday when I would go to church.
When we first got married, we both had our own checking accounts anyway, so we just kind of kept going. This is her money, this is my money. She did what she did with hers, and I did what I did with mine.
The couple bought a working farm near Lexington, Kentucky, and William started an excavation business. Emily worked as a medical billing specialist.
Most of my debt we started off with came from buying the equipment to start out excavating. That business is kind of high cost to entry.
You gotta spend money to make money is his mentality on things. I also think that God's gonna provide if we're doing the right thing with our money.
It didn't take long to snowball a lot of money together in debt. It did strain our marriage. It was tough.
William and Emily continued to have separate bank accounts, but Emily tithed faithfully from hers.
Her expenses never did exceed what she had in her account, and she was always able to save money. And I could run 6 or 7 days a week and never could get ahead.
After the birth of their first child, William asked his wife to consider being a full-time mom. She agreed, but under one condition.
She pretty much told me for her to quit her job that I had to start tithing. And I was so amped for her to come home and raise our kids that I said, sure, we'll start tithing.
Soon, God began to bless their business.
Instead of having a day or two long jobs, we were there for months. So all our jobs were getting longer and better paying jobs. Checks just showed up.
Now nearly all of their debts are paid off, and William is sold on the principle of tithing.
Well, I've probably turned 180 from where I started. I was trying to pay my bills first before I give the money to the church. That's obvious. That was wrong. That was completely wrong. So, but it took a long time for me to figure that out.
He's excited about it as I am, and he'll say now that there's no way that he would ever go back to not tithing.
Today, the McCaulays enjoy giving to their church, to missions work, and to the local community.
We're able at church, to be able to help all the missionaries.
Because we tithe, the Lord has blessed us, and we are able to provide for more people in the community. At the end of the day, you can't afford not to give. It's not worth it.
You see people every day that is working night and day, working so hard, and you just want to sit down and tell them, like, look, if you just knew that if you would give 10% to the church, that things would drastically change for you. Rich or poor, it doesn't matter until you realize that this is all God's and it's for us to be generous with. You'll always be chasing the wind looking for the next dollar.
Man, that's good.
Isn't that a great story? And it was so interesting that and I'm so proud of the fact that one of our couples got to be featured in that this week and aired, and it's been repeated a few times. It's really hard, John, I think, to try to describe to people who have not had that experience of giving the miracle that takes place in that.
Yeah.
Not only monetarily, but there's something inside that changes in an individual too.
Yeah.
That's really, really special.
Yeah, that's kind of like what Dave was talking about when it comes to service. Well, that's part of it as well. Is if you're not doing it, you don't even know what you're missing sometimes.
Yeah.
But like Willie said, he said it wonderfully. He said you really can't afford not to. We've got so many families that have gone through Financial Peace University, gone through ABC's Financial Freedom, and we've all experienced that same thing. You really can't afford not to give.
That's right. That's right. And and I just want to throw this in. Not only are we working toward trying to complete a facility up here, which we're going to address just a little bit more in a moment, but we also have the rest of our facilities to maintain as well. We try to be as good stewards. We grovel over the supply list and everything to try to do the best that we can to get the most for our money. Making good decisions around here. We also have a few projects. We have an 1888 building next door that we have worked hard to preserve, and we're continuing to do that. There's a couple of projects that we've been involved in. One of them we started this past year. Why don't you tell them about them, John?
Yeah, when you leave tonight, it might be too dark to see, but next time you come, check it out. On the front of the building, you'll see that we've kind of had a facelift. We've put in some de-wrinkle cream on the front of the building. Those stained glass windows, for example, they were put in about 1919, right?
That's correct.
And so there's some routine maintenance that has to happen to those things. Much like us, we start to get wrinkly and fall apart. So we had to do some stuff there, not only to preserve them for some time, but also to protect them from elements and rocks and kids with balls. And so so if you look at the front of that building, you're going to see that the window frames have been fixed up, and there's new coverings on those windows. And fun fact for you, there were, I think, 17 layers of paint on that window. On those windows, because they've just been painting and painting and painting and painting and painting. And so the folks that were able to work on those, they were able to take a sample of that and discover the original color that went around the frame of those windows. And sure enough, that's what we put back on. Yeah. It's like a brownish green. We would have never picked it ourselves.
It's called Munsell.
Munsell.
Yeah.
But as we looked at it, we thought, well, that's kind of neat. If it's the original color, let's go back to it.
Put it original.
And so that's what we've done. And so we did that this past year. And the next 2 years, we'll continue that process with the north side and the south side to make sure that we preserve this facility while we're also building this facility.
Yeah, got to do that. And then there's another project, that has to do with the bell tower, right?
Yeah, right on top of the church is the steeple. If you look in the doors, you see all the people. The steeple, we've got some issues that are going on there. We've got some water that's coming in. So our goal, again, is this spring to fix that and to preserve that and make sure that that building has the integrity that it should have.
Yeah, I love that facility, and we use it a lot. It's not just a museum by any stretch. It's probably the most used room.
It probably is, yeah.
It really is. And we're going to continue to use it, and we want to do it for years to come, but we want to take care of it. And not only there, but here as well, we want to do that. Over to my right here, there's a box, and you all probably seen this box around. This is called the Chest of Joash. We have it out in our foyer from week to week. We brought it in just to display it again. We've had this for a couple of years. We came up with the idea because of a story of a gentleman named Joash in the Old Testament, 2 Chronicles. John, tell a little bit about that and tell what this chest entails.
Well, Joash, he saw the status of the temple, and he said, that's not right. The house of the Lord should be in better shape than it is. And so in the John Welch version, he took this trunk and he put it out and he says, hey guys, fill it up. And that's kind of what happened gradually, and they were able to restore the temple. Yeah. When we launched the building up top, we started this Chest of Joash. And so we take the funds that are collected in there, as well as our Fifth Sunday givings. Every quarter we have a Fifth Sunday, and we take those funds and we put those toward the completion of this building. Because we want to be good stewards, right? And so we want to pay as much cash as we can to pay it down, and because we want to get our teens into an environment that's really beneficial for them largely. Right now they're worshiping a room that's 200 years old with windows that are 200 years old, and there's just one stray ball away from a lot of shattered glass, and so that's what that's all about.
Yeah. And that's available each week. You can give to that. It's checked and collected out of there each week. We always have a number of people that do the collecting and the counting. There's a full integrity system set up there that is discreet, and so I hope that you'll keep that in mind moving forward. So that's really cool. So we wanted to just be informed about that. And that kind of brings me to the next segment that I want to kind of wrap this up with. We have said, and I've been preaching this for years, that one of the things that's important is to know, to not just know where you've been, but to know how you're going to get where you're going. And the only way to do that is to have a value system to get you there. For instance, in a marriage or a relationship, if it's built around two individual standards, the likelihood of that relationship being successful it goes down drastically. But if there's the camaraderie where people come together and build on a godly foundation, the likelihood of success, and this is proven statistically, goes drastically up. We know that we have to have some direction. So we came up with a number of years ago core values. We have 6 core values. They're out here on the walls. We print them from time to time. We put them on cards occasionally. And the number one core value that we have, I preach on them quite frequently, has to do with biblical authority. And that just means that we use the Bible as our standard. It is our guide for all the decisions that we make. Whenever we have a decision to make here, the leadership as well as the volunteers, we ingrain it in everyone that they have to meet the criteria of these 6 core values, or we do not proceed with whatever it is. That's very, very important. Tell us why biblical authority is important.
Well, biblical authority is important because we are created people who are created under an authority. There's a good thing about order in our world today. I mean, that's another lesson we learned from 2020 with all the disorder in our society. It's very important to understand order, to understand authority. And so biblical authority is huge, and it plays out in a couple different ways. You know, each Sunday when Sammy or I or whoever might be bringing the word, when we're preaching from the Bible. If it's ever John's word or Sammy's words or David's words, then you need to pull us out and take us out back and beat us a little bit. We're preaching from God's word, and so that's how that's one of the ways it manifests. But it doesn't stop with just Sunday. See, especially now with COVID days, things are kind of tough sometimes to get this message, the most important message in our world today. It's more important, as we talked about in the past couple of weeks, it's more important than the message that our hospitals are giving out. It's more important than the message that our schools are teaching, because our message here deals with eternity. It's not just about how to have a better life or how to have a better marriage or how to have kids that aren't, going to jail, snorting coke out of, whatever. Our message here is about eternity. It has eternal impacts. And so we don't want it to just be limited to Sunday. So we want to make ways to be able to get the message of the Bible, the teaching of the Bible, available to you throughout the week as well. And so we've started a few different avenues for that. One way is through podcasts. Now, you might be aware of the podcasts that we have currently. We have a couple, and a new one coming up. First of all, we've been, for the past 2 years, I think, been dealing with the Leesburg Talk podcast. If you go to any podcasting service, you can find our podcasts on there. The Leesburg Talk podcast often talks about the previous Sunday's message, and it also deals with current events that are happening in our world today through a biblical worldview. And so you can follow us on that, and that's a great thing to listen to throughout the week. When you leave that message or that meeting on Tuesday, and you're kind of got a tick in your saddle all of a sudden, now you can kind of have some Bible to go to help you along the next steps. We also do a daily Monday through Friday podcast called Leesburg Daily. It's also available on most podcasting devices.
Now that's a shorter.
That's designed to be 10 to 15 minutes while you drive to work. And so we do that every day, or Monday through Friday, generally Monday through Friday. And it's designed for your drive to work or from work. And then the third podcast is a new podcast that's going to be launching in February. And I don't know if you pay attention to the culture today, but men are often depicted as Neanderthals who are just sex-driven and they're kind of worthless. Any sitcom you'll see.
That's about it.
That's about right, yeah. And so we're going headstrong into it. Here's the thing. The culture says men are goofballs and worthless. That's often the message we see today, but the Bible says something different. And so our Bold Men podcast is going to be talking about what is biblical manhood and how, what's a man created for, and how's a man created, and what's a man to do in life, and how to be a biblical man. And so that's going to be launching. That's going to be a bi-weekly podcast starting in February.
That sounds really exciting,
Yeah.
and I'm anticipating that as well as being a part of it. We really enjoy our podcast, and one of the things that COVID has kind of taught us this past year is that we have to be creative in the way that we get the word.
That's right.
Out to people, and so we're trying to stay on the cutting edge of that as much as possible, and we will continue to do that, and we appreciate your participation in it. Core value number 2 is Jesus. Now you think, well, shouldn't Jesus be number 1? Well, the only reason we know about Jesus is because of the Bible.
Gotcha.
So we gotta have the Bible as our authority, so we know about Jesus. But Jesus, and you'd think that would be a given. Well, of course, Jesus is core value. What does that mean? We believe not only is he a connection, but he is the only connection to God the Father. Now, folks, that's a big statement, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It's a big statement because we live in a world today that is teaching us something very, very different. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me. Why is that such a big deal?
Well, I mean, you're alive, and you hear the messages in our society, and our society is saying that, this popular religious-sounding stuff says, well, all roads lead to the same place. All roads, and so that's your truth, and here's my truth, and we're okay with different truths. But Jesus says, no, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Like, there's no such thing as multiple truths, no more than it just doesn't happen. Like, I am the way, Jesus says. In our post-Christian culture, that's being pushed against. And so, maybe 10 years ago, we would have kind of assumed, maybe even as early as 10 years ago, we would have said, well, that's crazy to emphasize. Well, of course Jesus is your way, is the way. But it's becoming more and more pressing each day to keep that on the foreground, that Jesus is the only way, because the culture in our society is yelling a different message.
That's right. Our third core value has to do with community. Now, this is really a big one, because certainly where we've been in this past season with regard to all of the isolation that we've all had to experience during this pandemic. And one of the things that I think that we're learning, and I'm watching the statistics personally quite closely with regard to depression and suicide and anxiety levels and medications that are just exponentially going through the roof. We know here, because it was designed by God through His Word, we know that one of the things that we have to have in order to be not only have the best life possible here, but a shot at getting there, is we got to have community. We got to have the opportunity to be together. We're told in Scripture not to forsake the assembling of ourselves. We're also told that the very first church, when it was launched, continued to meet daily in fellowship and breaking of bread and prayer. Those are key things for all of us. And the reason it is because doing life together, linking arms together, is how we stay fortified and strong. And this is one of the real incredible things that we got to stay focused on moving forward. John, do you have a comment you'd like to make?
Well, yeah, think about it like this. The lone wolf, what happens to the lone wolf in nature? Yeah. It's eaten up, right? The lone wolf can't survive by itself. And so we kind of romanticize that idea of being the loner, the lone wolf. We're just going to do our thing. But in reality, in nature and in society, the lone wolf is eaten alive. Same thing, again, as we preach and teach the Bible, and as we preach and teach that Jesus is the only way, consider this as well. As you say Jesus is the only way, you're going to get pressed against. That's what happened in the early church. The early church said, hey, look, this Jesus whom you crucified rose from the grave. And the people, the Jews specifically, and the Romans pressed against that message. What helped the early Christians was community, linking arms together. And that helped them to stand firm against pressure from the outside to say, cave in. Don't take that stand. Don't take that stance. Don't teach that. That's what helped them as they linked arms together. That gave them a solid foundation.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be seeing residual effects moving
That's
forward.
Right.
And we as a church have to be prepared to help meet that. The fourth one that we're going to talk about, core value, is one of service. Jesus said, I didn't come to be served, but to serve. And one of the things that we talk about all the time is we want you to be active in service. And this isn't just for the benefit of the ministry, although the ministry benefits, but this is for your benefit as well. Yeah. Nothing is more motivational than having a purpose, a higher purpose for your life. And so we try to get everybody to become a player and not just a spectator. And we have plenty of opportunities to do it. We got all kinds of missions that go on every week. We have backpack ministry, and what else, John? What are some of the other things?
Clothing closet. We've got the food pantry that happens each week. We've got planning for things this summer, for example, like Big Creek. We've got potentially in 2022 a foreign mission trip. We've got all kinds of we've got Change for a Dollar. Change for a Dollar is a neat program. About maybe 3 years ago, we launched $1 for every person that comes onto our campus. Now that kind of got messed up a little bit with the COVID, but we've been able to help so many people in our community locally, especially through COVID, by paying utilities because of shutdowns or layoffs, by helping people stay ahead or a step ahead. We've been able to do a lot of things. So just being here, now that's not a cop-out to say, well, you're doing your service, right? But just being here, you're making an impact each week.
Yeah, and we're doing what the Scripture teaches with regard to looking after the widows
That's
and
right.
the orphans and those kinds of things, which is a high priority on God's list, and we've been able to do that because of this ministry. And then also, and that's because we're able to pull our resources together and serve together. We have some really special and cool events. We have Lee County ministry that we do each year. We have the Blessing Ball for the mentally and physically challenged, which we had to put on hold in 2020. We're hoping to get it back in September of this year, and we're excited about that ministry, and we will be telling you more about it. But it's a fantastic outreach and service to our community, and we want to continue all these things as we continue to move forward. That brings me to the fifth one, and that is providing an excellent environment. One of the things that we have tried to do from day one is when you think of environment, you think of your surroundings, but it's not. It's a little bit more than that. It also is not just adding to, but removing obstacles that keep people from a relationship with Christ. I think that's kind of what David was alluding to a little bit earlier, that one of the reasons that God has blessed this place is because we've worked it hard not to major in minors and get bent out of shape over goofy things, and because we've removed those obstacles that keep people away from God and from His church. But we also have to provide a good physical environment, which is, we haven't never been extravagant in what we've done, but we've tried to make it effective and be able to be used of God, which is what we're trying to do in our Family Life Center as well as we're moving forward. And then we're doing some other things, especially during this season of uncertainty, like we're trying to improve our facilities, make it as clean as possible. Want to touch on that for just a second?
Yeah, we're exploring right now a couple different opportunities. With the COVID, of course, we've changed how we just our small things, like if you notice the doors in the back stay open nowadays. We don't shut the doors in here, and that's just minimizing touching stuff. We're trying to do those things. We keep masks and hand sanitizer all over the place. It's like sanitizer heaven around here. There's always sanitizer somewhere. But we're also looking at a couple of different options to make sure that we are as responsible as we can be when it comes to the air quality of this place. We're looking at two different options about using UV technology that cleanses the air, and it's a lot smarter than I am. So I can't really explain it to you other than it cleans the air that we breathe, which seems like it would make us healthier.
And it gets rid of the stuff that makes us sick.
That's
and
right,
So
yeah.
we have a couple of different options to do that, to keep our facility as sanitary and as clean as possible and safe for your kids. And so we'll be giving you more information moving forward on that. And John, then the last core value is probably the one that we maybe touch on the most, because it is the most tangible way, and that is the idea of sharing. We have this come and see core value where we encourage you to go out and tell others to come and see, because that's what the first disciples did when they encountered Christ. They said, man, you got to come and see this. You got to come and see and listen to this for yourself. You won't believe it. But you got to be able to go before you can come and see. And so we encourage you, and so we've launched into this whole campaign. I started it kind of by accident in the first week of January, when I began to talk about if everybody could reach just one person this year for the cause of Christ, to help introduce them to a relationship with Christ, we could turn this community upside down on its ear, make a huge difference. And so the challenge has just been to reach just one. And so we're going to be talking a little bit more. You want to say something about that real quick?
Well, yeah. So if we think, mobilizing the troops, that's what it comes down to, mobilizing the troops. And you might say, well, look, I'd love to reach my just one. I've got a coworker that I'd love to share Jesus with. But here's the thing, John. What if they ask a question that I don't know the answer to? What if they ask a question that I don't know even how to even closely answer it? What if I don't know what to say? How do I start that conversation, or how do I finish that conversation about faith? That just seems so unnatural. How can I do my just one? One of the things we want to help with that is, starting in February, we're starting a foundations class. And that foundations class is going to teach basic Christian beliefs, the fundamental, the normal opposition you might get if someone presses back against sharing Christ. They might say, well, how do you know the Bible's true? You say the Bible's true. How do you know that's true? We're going to talk through those types of things. We're going to talk about how to start a spiritual conversation. And so you're welcome to join us for that. That's going to happen immediately following the second service. Lunch will be provided. Childcare will be provided if you RSVP. And you can do that by going to our website. You can go to social media and sign up on the link there.
And speaking of that, we got a lot of different ways that now we are able to engage, right?
Because it comes down to, to accomplish our Just One initiative, we've got to engage you, and we've got to mobilize the troops. And so let me just tell you, the best, quickest, easiest clearest way to know what's happening at Leesburg is to check out our social media. You can follow us. We've got a general social media pages for the church, but we've also got specific ones for our teens and children. And so make sure you're following us on Facebook, on Instagram. And here's the thing. If you like and share and comment, that helps more people see that content. And so please make a habit of doing that. I also want to ask you to consider this. Now, this is, I think, by far one of the coolest things that we are able to do starting this year.
Now, I got to tell you, when John first came up with this and brought it to me and we sat down and talked, I said, now, John, when we talk about this to the congregation, I want you to talk to them like you're trying to talk to me, because I don't understand technology real well, but I like using it once I figure it out. And so he's made it as simple as he can possibly.
Because we wrote it down. All right.
We wrote it down.
You can put it next to your cell phone and carry it in your wallet. I don't know. Text to church is what this thing's called. And so it's simple. It's easy. If you look, the phone number for the church is 234-0080. You can still call that phone number and talk to someone Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4 p.m. And you can do anything, because it's a phone. You can call it. But you can also text that phone number. Now, this is a cool thing. If you put that phone number in your phone and you text the word me, that's M-E, for example, you can update your personal info in our database. If your address changes or your phone number changes or email address, you can update your information there. If you text prayer to that number, sometimes, well, how do I get a prayer request submitted to the prayer chain? You can just text prayer to that number, and you can submit a prayer request that way. That's kind of neat. If you text the word events, you can register for different activities that require a RSVP. For example, like the foundations. If you text events, you'll see that foundations.
Or maybe our teenagers are going on a
there.
retreat or something like that.
Yeah. And so that will always be changing. If you're new, maybe you're new here tonight. If you text new to that number, you can fill out a digital new here card instead of touching the card out there in a pen. You can do that digitally. Maybe you're here and you say, you know what, John, Sammy, I hear you talking about getting involved and serving and being a part of the ministry here, but I don't know what my next steps are. Maybe it's baptism, maybe it's membership, but maybe it's volunteering in an area and serving in an area. But maybe you don't know what those next steps are. If you text next to that number, one of us will be reaching out to you in the next 48 hours or so. And then if you text sermon, you can hear someone's good sermons.
And you can get some good sleep, right? Yeah. Something like that. I don't know.
But no, if you text sermon, we'll send you a link to the most recent sermons, which is kind of neat. And that's going to be a evolving list, I should say, of all kinds of different things. One of my favorite things, it won't impact you all right now, but one day it will, for young families that are coming on Sunday mornings, once they hit the car and they're on the way here, they can text check or check in to that number, and they can digitally check in before they get here. Their cards can be printed, so they just walk in, get zapped in the forehead with a thermometer, and get their stickers already. No more standing in lines. I think that's going to be a cool thing. I just think that's
definitely
super
be
cool.
real helpful for some of our young families that run late sometimes.
That's right.
When they're trying to get to church. Well, speaking of engagement, John,
so take a card when you leave.
Take one of those cards.
Not only a text to church card, but also grab a card that has our groups. Our Monday night, we've got a Monday night group, a Wednesday night group, a Thursday night group, and every other Friday night group. So we've got groups.
And if they want to start one, come see us.
That's
Maybe
right.
we can start a new
Yeah,
group.
that's right.
There's always something good. So speaking of engagement, we talked about this box. We haven't talked about this box. And this has been the mysterious box all day that everyone's talking about. What is that? What is that?
I'm going to get in it.
Yeah, we're going to make him disappear. It's a magic trick. This is actually going to be out in our lobby area for the entire year. And you'll notice that there are some balls you can see through the glass there, and we have some here. They're over to the sides. They're also over in the corners on the stools. And in front of them, there is a Sharpie. John, tell us what we're going to do with this and why.
Well, if you pick up a ball, you're going to notice that it's blank and white because it represents nothing. Our job is to make it represent something. And not just something, but someone. You're just one. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into a song, and I want to ask you to take a marker and indicate this ball as you're just one. this is the person. Maybe you've got 4 or 5. I mean, that's fine too. Our goal this year is to fill up this box. I would love to see this box overflowing, because I know that if we work that hard to share Jesus with our just 1 or 2 or 3, I know that this community is going to be drastically changed. And so make this ball represent your just one, and that's going to be your spiritual commitment to make this person a priority, to share your faith with them. Indicate that on the ball, that person on the ball, and then you can come and you can drop it in the box. And we're going to be working on this year to fill this box up.
Yeah, and you can pray for them every single
right.
day. That's kind of the indicator. So while we sing this song, I want to invite you to stand right now. You are welcome to move about. Come up here or over to the side and get as many of these you want. Jot an initial if you don't want to put a name or a name, and make your way over here. Now, you can't put them right down in the middle, but if you'll put them up there, down on the sides, they'll go down in. You'll see that when you get up here. And we'll collect these and continue to pray over this in the year to come. So join us in that right now.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here. You are here, moving in our midst. Worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. And you are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Yes, that is who you are. 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 Let's sing it together. Even when I don't see it your working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for coming.